Hey guys, welcome to Rise VO. So I wanted to go over some editing tricks and just basic voiceover editing. That's one of the main things that I struggled with in the past. Just learning how to edit, learning how to even open up or save a file. Wherever you're at, it doesn't matter if you're a voiceover artist or you do podcasts or um, anything that you do that relates to recording audio. And I'll just show you the simple process that I've learned from the past 2 years from pro voiceover talent, from people that have been in the business for a long time. And my best advice for recording any audio, whether it's podcast, voiceover, or video games, or whatever you're into, or even streaming, it's best to keep it simple. So I'm going to go over the process and walk you through. So yeah, let's get into it. So here I have Adobe Audition opened. So in the top left corner, that's where all the files are opened. And you can switch back and forth to each file that you're working on. So it's a pretty smooth workflow. The recommended dB that you should be recording in is between about -18 dB and -9 dB. That is like standard in spoken word. And then in the bottom right hand corner, you have your 48,000 hertz, your 24-bit and mono. You're always going to want to record in those settings, or 16-bit mono, or 44,100 hertz. So then in this area, that's actually a mark that I made, just so I know where I make my mistakes. So say if I stuttered or I stumbled or I said a word wrong in an audition, I make those markings. I use a dog clicker or I'll snap with my finger. So it makes a sharp peak, so I know where I messed up, and then I could just highlight over it and just continue on, and it helps me edit really fast and speeds up my workflow. So I just highlight over where I messed up, so I know exactly where I messed up. So I click it. After that, I reattempted to say the line correctly, and I just continue. So now I am halfway there. Next, what I do is I do a simple EQ. I'm not gonna cover too much on EQ. I'm just gonna show you what I use. I use a plugin from Waves. It's called the F6 RTA. And these are basically taking away certain harsh frequencies from the waveform or from my voice, depending on my recording environment or microphone and voice. And there's different ranges. So in the lower range below 60 hertz, you're not going to really take away anything from the voice. That's more room noise. Anything above that, like 125 to 250, you're going to get your lower frequencies that take out any mud, or it can give you more bass in your voice or take away, make your voice sound a little lighter. And then after that, you can just go through these, and there's different types of EQs out there. You could just play with it, YouTube it, and see step-by-step tutorials. I'm not going to really go over it that much. I just want to show you what I use. But this is what my EQ form or waveform looks like, and what parts of the EQ range I cut out from my voice that's harsh to the listener's ear. And then that number 6 right there that you see at the end, that is more of my sibilance frequency range. So my P's and my T's and S's, I subtracted a few dB, probably actually 3 decibels away from that frequency range, so it's not so harsh to the listener's ear. So once you find the harsh frequencies, and there's different ways to do it and different EQ plugins to use, and then you go ahead and apply that. So that's the first thing I do for every voiceover that I do for auditions or orders for clients and so on. And then next is a compressor. So there are so many compressors out there. Basically, it's taking the loudest parts and reducing them, making them quieter, and then the quieter parts of your voice or your audio file, it raises it up. So you get a more leveled and balanced audio recording by using compression. This nozzle right here, the more you increase it, the more it compresses and levels out your audio file. With this compressor specifically, you don't want to crank this up to go over -3. If you go over that, like -5, -7 on this meter, that's too much. You're going to sound too boomy and sound like you're doing like a podcast or something like that. So that's what I do. And then also I make sure that the levels are once before I add the compressor, I want to match the loudness of my original recording before and after I apply compression. So they're both the same. That's called gain staging. Now we move on to Isotope RX9 mouth declick. This is a lifesaver. It shows how many clicks it takes out of your recording. So when you speak, if you have a lot of mouth clicks, I definitely do, then this really helps on taking that away. So it gives it a cleaner audio recording in general. Next is dynamics processing. You can do different things with this. This is more for background noise. So I record my room tone, which is how much noise is happening in my room. And what I do is I apply that in one of the dots. You could just say if my room tone is -60 dB, then I'll just type in one of these dots that you see along that line, -60 dB, and then you just kind of pull that middle one that you see pulled down. You pull it down and you basically take away anything that is under -60 dB. So it doesn't take away from your voice. It only takes away below that. So that's it. I just use those three. And you see how after I applied the effects rack here, it leveled out the entire recording. See, when I go back and see those high peaks, whereas sometimes in the recording it's louder and then some are quieter. Now it's more leveled. Do you see that? So now all the way across, it's not perfectly leveled, but it's much more level than before. So now that I play it back, it's going to sound nice and strong, punchy with the compression. And now I highlight over my new room tone when I applied my effects rack with all those 3 steps, and I copy and paste. So now everything that I copy and paste over, it's only my room noise, but clean room noise. And then I go ahead and make sure that I probably do about like half a second of audio being of silence in the beginning of the recording and at the end of the recording to keep them all consistent and neat. Now I kind of highlight over maybe like 2/100ths of a second, and I use that to take out breaths. I just copy and paste over all my breaths or any unpleasant sounds that I don't want in my final recording. So I go through, I sweep through. Adobe Audition is amazing at cleaning audio. If you're just doing voiceover or even just into mixing, it's a great tool. It's like $22 a month. Or if you want to do like a free DAW, which is a digital audio workstation, then I highly recommend Audacity. It's completely free. So here I'm just taking out any mouth clicks that the plugin couldn't detect. And I could rather use a brush, which is on the top blue highlighted. It's right next to the white paintbrush. And it takes out physically, like smoothens out the clicks from my mouth noise so it doesn't sound so harsh. So I just go through and I just start kind of, getting the pace right, listening back. You see that right there, all that activity that I highlight, that's kind of like a consistent, waveform, but it's low. You could tell that's a breath just by looking at it. Compared to my speech waveform, it's completely different. So that's how I also identify when I'm trying to take out breaths. And then there's some clicks in there too. I'm removing and I'm just sweeping through, right? Keeping it simple, and it makes my workflow very efficient. So I just go through step by step. And you notice how I took out all of my mistakes first before adding all of the audio plugins. So take out all your mistakes with the clicker method that I showed. And then after, that's when you apply your EQ, cleaning all those harsh frequencies, your compression, and then the dynamic processor or any noise reduction type of plugin. So I'm just sweeping through, shortening those gaps of silence so it sounds more natural. And you just highlight over every breath or any click and just kind of With clicks, that's when you can completely silence it so it won't sound unnatural. With silencing breaths in between speech, I highly recommend that you copy and paste your room tone, which is the noise of your room that you copied after you applied your effects. So it sounds more natural instead of a vacuum. So it's like you're talking and all of a sudden it's like dead quiet. You don't want that because it sounds unnatural. You want it to flow, and you want the entire recording to sound like your room. And that's it. So now typically I just add a normalize. So that basically brings the entire waveform up. So it's louder, it's more full, and it's just better for the listener's ear as well. Typically negative 3 dB or negative 1 dB is what I go for. So I'm just over here looking for the normalize because normally I have a keyboard shortcut, but I want to show you guys just so you know where to find it in Adobe Audition. All right, normalize dB, which is decibels only, and just do like negative 1 or negative 3 dB, and that should do it. Oh, and then also here is saving that's how you save the file as an MP3, and you're done. All right, and that's basically it. So once you normalize it, your file is ready to be saved and exported and sent to the client or whatever you're working on. If it's a project, a YouTube video, or whatever you're recording, you can just save it and you're ready to go. So if you have any other requests, if you want to see how EQ works more, I can make a more in-depth video of that. Or if you want to see how compression works, I can do a video solely covering compression, or any other topic or any other audio editing technique that you'd like to learn just to kind of make your workflow better. Let me know. Just send me a message or a comment on one of my videos and I'll be happy to do that. So thanks again for stopping by, and make sure to like and subscribe if you like this content and if you want to see more. And have a good one. Take care.